Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Bert's Books podcast. I'm not here today, I'm at home today, and I've got Keith with me on the other side of the Zoom screen. Keith, how are you?
I'm absolutely fine. Good to see you. It's been a while and looking forward to joining you in this podcast.
Yeah, it has been a while. You've moved since the last time we spoke.
Yeah, no longer in Oxfordshire. We're living in Leighton Buzzard and large market town with the Grand Union Canal going through it. Independent bookshop called Book. So
See?
we moved 7 months ago. I retired, so enjoying life.
And how is life retirement? Are you sitting around just reading books all day?
Well, playing golf, going to some art classes, doing lots of different things, reading. I'm currently 550 pages into 875 of the Count of Monte Cristo.
Wow.
So it's a Wordsworth edition, so the print is really small. But really enjoying it. It was interesting to hear what Michael said about the Count of Monte Cristo the other day. So, but yeah, reading lots of books, joined a couple of book groups, but life is good. Thank you.
Good, good. Well, what sort of book groups are you in?
Well, I'm in one, the men's book group. There's a number of book groups that are loosely connected with book. So Liz is a member of the classics and the other world. I'm a member of the men's book group. And all the book groups meet in the Bottle House, which is an independent craft beer tap room shop. And it's also a safe place. And it has links with lots of other sort of community groups. So there's a men's mental health walking group on Sundays that also have links with, particularly with the men's book group. So it's a safe place, a place where men can have a chat and support one another and talk about books.
That's a really lovely idea. We have two book clubs,
Yeah.
and I would say predominantly women. 95% of the members are women, and
Yeah.
I don't know why men don't come to book clubs. Maybe they see it as more of a solitary thing.
I don't know. It's interesting that, so I ought to give a quick shout out to Jonathan, Steve, Matt, Richard, Dave, and Andrew, who are part of the men's book group. And it's interesting that we read a whole variety of books, lots of books that I wouldn't necessarily have read myself, but that's the joy of being part of a book group. And a number of the guys actually listen to it on Audible.
Okay.
And we had a social just before Christmas, and some guy just dropped in and was asking what does a men's book group do? And he was apologizing for the fact that actually he finds it difficult to read. So we said, well, why don't you just listen? And that seemed to be quite a revelation, really, that you could actually read by not physically reading, but by listening.
Yeah,
Um, but it's a good group.
good. So what book are you going to be talking about today?
I would like to talk about one of the books, in fact, that we read at the men's book group called How Not to Be a Boy by Robert Webb.
Oh, okay, yes, I've read that, but it was a while ago, so it'll be good to get a refresher on that.
Yeah.
I'm not actually going to be reviewing a book today. We're making a
Wow.
little bit of a break from the podcast. Michael will be popping along later to talk about his latest read or one of his latest read. He's called one called Hell's Heart,
Hmm.
which I believe is a take on Moby Dick,
Okay.
but in space. Uh,
Okay, touch of Douglas Adams by the sound of it
Yeah,
going on there, but
possibly.
yeah.
But I will be after we've done recording this, I will be picking your brains on another book, which I think will be good for your men's book club. But we won't say anything more about that. We will,
Excellent.
we will leave that for everyone to wonder what that is for when it appears in a later podcast.
Yep.
So we've got How to Be a Boy, How Not to Be a Boy,
And not to be a boy.
How Not to Be a Boy, and Hell's Heart coming up on the other side of this music. Go on then, Keith. Tell me a little bit about what How Not to Be a Boy is about.
Okay, well, let me get the blurb up. I've actually got the book out of the library, so I've taken some photos of the blurb. I just need to find it. So it says, looking back over his life, from schoolboy crushes on girls and boys to discovering the power of making people laugh in the Cambridge Footlights with David Mitchell and Olivia Colman, and from losing his beloved mother to becoming a husband and father. Robert Webb considers the absurd expectations boys and men have thrust upon them at every stage of life. Hilarious and heartbreaking, How Not to Be a Boy explores the relationships that made Robert who he is as a man, the lessons we learn as sons and daughters, and the understanding that sometimes you aren't the Luke Skywalker of your life, you're actually Darth Vader. It's not a book that I would have actually picked up myself. I don't read many autobiographies. I don't actually read an awful lot of non-fiction, but I am doing now because of the book group. And it's interesting that if I'm reading an autobiography or a biography or non-fiction, I seem to read slower than if it's fiction or a novel. So basically, he uses his life's experiences to reflect on what life has thrown at him and how to be a better person. And so, How Not to Be a Boy is looking at the kind of expectations that many boys, many men face themselves in situations they're expected and how they're expected to behave. So it was written in 2017. So it's let's bring it up to date, pre the story of Joel in EastEnders, who violently attacked his stepmother. It's pre the Tate brothers and the whole issue around toxic masculinity. It's pre the TV drama Adolescence. So it touches on a lot of those issues that are very much in the news at the moment. So um, perhaps it sums up by for many boys, for many men, this is what you're expected to do. Be a man, man up, act like a man, get a grip, get real, get over yourself, pull yourself together, sort yourself out, stop moaning, stop feeling sorry for yourself. You don't know you're born. Be a man, man up, act like a man. So Robert's background is that his father was sort of thrown out of the family house by his mother when he was when Robert was about 8. There was violence in the home, not towards him, but particularly towards his mum. And there was an atmosphere of fear and treading on eggshells. He was never sure how his father was going to react. He was a drinker, a fighter, and would be very much of the mold, man up, be a man. This is what boys are supposed to do. Just suck it up, get on with it. And then, as the story unfolds, one of his other key male figures in his life was his grandfather, who was never violent or whatever, but again would perhaps go down the same line as, you're a boy, you don't cry, man up. This is what's expected of you. And the effect that that kind of understanding had on him through his life, through school. I mean, the book is incredibly funny in places. It's quite harrowing in other places. Um, and as he grows up, so he's going through sort of sixth form. His mum dies, she dies from cancer. That has a huge, profound effect on him because she was his sort of safe space, really. She really understood him. So he felt lonely, angry, confused about what it meant to be a teenager, wanting to lose his virginity and have sex, and not really having much guidance. And then he goes on to university and he finds himself repeating some of the things that he did earlier, and then gets married and has daughters and reflects on that new relationship and the way in which he treats others. And although it's How Not to Be a Boy, and it is very apposite at this time with the discussion around toxic masculinity and the way that men behave and the way that women are portrayed and treated. There's a whole thing about actually it's not just about how men should treat or not treat women. It's how people should treat one another. So it almost transcends the discussion about gender and identity, and just talks about what it means to be human and what it means to treat other people with respect and honesty and all those sorts of things that man up, suck it up, get over it doesn't allow you to do.
Yeah, I'm sort of as you talk about it, I'm remembering it. So I think I mean, like yourself, I don't really read a lot of non-fiction, and certainly not biographies, and certainly not celebrity biographies. But this was back in a previous life when I worked for WH Smith, as it was then, and we Robert Webb was brought to Swindon and we went for a dinner with him or a lunch,
Yeah.
and he told us about his book, and it just sounded really interesting and kind of about what I was curious about and thinking
Mm.
about at the
Yeah.
time. So I read it, and it was a really interesting thing because to me, growing up as a gay kid, great gay boy, like I knew I wasn't like the straight guys.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'd never really realized that there were shades of grey among the straight guys. Like they weren't all the same. Some of them could be nice. Some of them like they
Yeah.
weren't all just the same thing. And I think that's like I mean, he does talk about in this book about being or sort of being attracted to guys, doesn't he?
Yeah. It does. It does.
But he kind of basically admits that he's not gay. He's maybe bisexual, but pretty much heterosexual.
Yeah. But
And
there's certainly a time when he was experimenting and he wasn't sure.
yeah. And I found it quite interesting just to think, I wonder how much of that came from not being like the other guys. So maybe, oh, maybe I'm gay,
Yeah.
maybe I'm bisexual. And I think it's just such like that whole toxic masculinity conversation. I I think we do a lot of men a disservice by talking about toxic masculinity as if it is all men.
Yeah.
And I know that's a really, you can't say, well, it's not all men because it is, I always say it's not all men, but it's always men. But
Yeah.
but there are shades of grey within the spectrum, and I think a lot of people kind of get lost within that. A lot of the guys who are just nice people
Mm.
kind of get, if you're not the sort of alpha male, you're gay.
Yeah.
How did it go down at the men's book club?
It went down well. I mean, it was recommended by, I think, Dave, who recommended it. And I mean, there were some quite dark places in there at one point. I mean, he's wondering about David, Robert Webb is wondering about the point of life and carrying on. And he actually shares some of the poetry that he wrote when he was going through those really dark times. And there's a bit where there's a plastic sort of box that had his mum's very powerful painkillers and stuff from morphine from when she was obviously in the latter stages of her life. And for some reason, that wasn't sort of tidied away. And he'd often reflect on that and perhaps get it out and look at it and wonder, is life worth living? And obviously, he doesn't. But that was quite, I think, quite powerful bit to read. As I say, some bits were very funny. Um, but I think that one of the other reasons why I wanted to mention it was he went off to university to do English, and when he was at school, he read a lot of Doctor Who books, and one of the teachers who took an interest in him was an English teacher. So they were talking about this, and you have those conversations when you replay it in your mind afterwards, and you think, "I wish I'd said that," or "I wish I'd made that point." Well, there's a bit in the book where he's reflecting on a conversation he had with Mrs. Slater. And I think she's almost said, "What's the point of science fiction?" And then in the book, he says, "I wish I'd said that science fiction is the same as the point of any other fiction, to take the world and reimagine it, to refresh our understanding of human beings by imagining ourselves in a different place or time." And then something else he also says, um, I mean, he was I think, really pleased that he grew up in a house where his mum particularly encouraged him to read. But it said, he says, and when it comes to colossal strokes of good fortune, it starts here. It starts with having a family who loves you and someone who inspires you to read. Not because reading makes you smart, although it helps, but because to involve yourself in a story is to imagine what it's like to be someone else. And generally, boys aren't much encouraged to do that. And I mean, I think that is so important. If you read stories, if you read the novels, if you interact with what's going on in that encounter, you you boost your sense of empathy. You can perhaps get a glimpse of what it's like to be someone who isn't you. And going back to what you said earlier, Alex, about those shades of grey within what it means to be a man is far more nuanced than the screaming headlines. So I think again it goes back for I think the most important thing for me in all books is the importance of story and how it all links together. And he was saying that reading. I think if you would read, if I was to paraphrase what he's saying, reading doesn't necessarily make you more smart, but reading makes you a better human being.
Yeah, it's I mean, as well, it's emotional intelligence, isn't it? I mean,
It is.
you say reading doesn't make you smart, but you can learn facts and things, but is that intelligence? Is that smart, or is that just remembering?
Yeah.
But to put yourself in the other shoes, to read about other lives and be changed by them is one of the most powerful things that a book
It
can
is.
do.
Yeah. And it's no surprise, is it, that when, particularly extreme governments come to power, we can all remember the sort of, not that we were there, but in the history lessons of how in Nazi Germany, books were banned and burned publicly in a demonstration of this is no longer acceptable. And you think in America of the list of books that have been banned in different states, particularly those within LGBTQ plus group that are no longer libraries are no longer to have them, and they've been outlawed because they're powerful because they tell a story and actually can affect and change people and how people perceive things and how people understand and their empathy. So if you're of a government that doesn't want that, you ban the books
Mm.
because books are powerful.
There's um there's one thing I don't think I really want to go into it too much because I don't know enough about it, but there's one thing I feel like I should mention, which is that shortly after the book came out, Robert Webb got into a little bit of controversy around trans rights.
Yeah,
And he came down. I don't know if he came down against them, but he was certainly critical of the charity Mermaids. And so then I know a lot of people were like, oh, because again, it's one of those things. There's shades of grey throughout that whole conversation,
yeah,
but you're quite often painted as being for or against. It's very it's very binary sort of argument, and there's not really much room in the discourse for um, like learning or having that opinion. So I don't know where he sits on that spectrum, but I was surprised when it happened after I'd read this book
mm,
because he seemed to he seemed to understand the sort of the way that gender can influence and the pretexts of gender and the sort of the expectations of what you're going to be going through can affect somebody. So I was surprised that he was on the sort of the anti side of that argument, but I think the book still stands on its own
yeah,
as a really interesting discussion about male sexuality
yeah,
and the concept of what it means to be a man.
yeah. I mean, I think that also raises another issue. I mean, I think we touched on that and when we were talking about another book previously about in the cancel culture that we're sort of living through. Um, does someone's more recent comment that might or might not have been accurately reported or taken out of context then immediately say all that they've done previously is no longer of any worth?
It's always such an interesting conversation, and I have that conversation with people in the shop all the time when they
Yeah,
discover that an author that they like doesn't share an opinion of theirs, and it colors the way they've seen the past thing. I mean, I always just go down the route, and I think I've said this to you before, and I've certainly said it to other people before, is that take the work for what the work is, take out of it what you get out of it, and that's what it is. Like if you read something like this and you get something out of it that is a positive influence,
yeah,
then that is not negated by the fact that he thinks differently to you on another subject.
yeah. And also, he wrote that in 2017. and probably started writing it a few years prior to that. So, and people's views and experiences change. But I think the whole thing about the book made me think about, uh, empathy, but also, someone once said to me at church that very often the people that seem the most confident are actually the most insecure,
Yeah,
because you're seeing what they're projecting. So
they're playing a part.
you see this larger than life person, bubbly, full of energy, really confident, but actually inside, the reality is very different.
Yeah, they're putting on a show, they're playing a part, they're
Yeah,
letting you see what they want you to see and not seeing beneath the surface. I yeah, completely agree with that.
yeah,
How did it go down at the men's group? Did they enjoy it?
they did. Yeah, it went down well. I'm just so we've read. I mean, just to get back to we've read the first book that I joined in August was Unruly by David Mitchell, which
Okay.
was interesting. Then, as the newbie in the group, I had to choose a book, so I chose Laura Shepherd Robinson's Blood and Sugar. So Georgian murder set against the slave trade. Really wondering whether people liked it, but fortunately, they all loved it.
Good,
Then we
good.
read The Accidental Soldier by Owen Mulligan, which did for the reserves and the army what This Is Going to Hurt did to the medical profession. Then we read Mr. Willman's Motoring Adventures. So Mr. Willman was the guy behind Top Gear and the Grand Tour and everything. Then we read Blood Orange by Harriet Tice because I think it was Steve in the group said, "Oh, we were all watching Traitors," and it turned out, that he said, "Oh, one of them's an author." So I remember in conversation something you said on the web on one of the podcasts. So we decided to read Blood Orange. And we just started reading Worth Dying For: The Power and Politics of Flags by Tim Marshall.
Wow.
So a bit of an eclectic
It's
mix.
quite a mix, yeah. That's interesting. Do you think fiction or non-fiction goes down better?
I mean, I've only been in the group since, so I say since August. I think perhaps they've read more non-fiction, but they all enjoyed Tomorrow, 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 and they've read that before. And I think they struggled with. They can probably tell me off that they didn't say that, but I got the impression that one or two struggled with the Satsuma complex.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it's. But I think one of the good things about the book is that we'll come along and people might say, actually, really didn't go on with it at all, and that's fine. And it's okay to come along to the book group if you haven't finished reading the book, or even if you haven't started reading the book.
That's what we do as well, and it actually makes for really, really interesting discussions. That you get some people who loved it, some people who didn't like it, and then
Yeah,
you get people who are part of the way through reading it, and we say, well, and then like you say, some people who haven't read it, they just want to come along, and we get, oh, do you know what? Actually, I wasn't going to read it, but you've sold it on me now, and things like
yeah.
that. So it's quite a
Or
nice,
yeah, or I'm struggling a bit at the moment. Is it worth carrying on?
yeah,
So, yeah, yeah, keep going because it picks up, or. Yeah.
excellent. So, How Not to Be a Boy by Robert Webb is it's available now. It's time for my favourite part of the week, and that is, of course, the bestseller charts. This is where we look at the best-selling books across the country using Nielsen Bookscan's total consumer market, and on the pillar of popularity, the best-selling 5 books in the shop in Swindon of the last week. So we're going to start with that top 10, which normally at this point of the year has got lots of World Book Day books in it, but we've excluded those just to make it a little bit more interesting. And so we're going to start with Local Girl Missing by Claire Douglas, down 7 places to number 10 this week. A new entry at number 9 is The Girl with the Suitcase by Leslie Pierce. And at number 8, down 2 places, Lisa Jules, Don't Let Him In. Number 7, No Move for the Housemaid by Frida McFadden, and there is another Frida McFadden at number 6, Dear Debbie, down 1 place. At number 5, it's A Death on Location by Reverend Richard Coles, and at number 4, a new entry for B.K. Borison. And now, back to you. Last week's number 2, this week's number 3, it is Nancy Birtwhistle's Clean Magic. And Heba Al-Wasiti is a new entry at number 2 with Weaving Shore, one of those subscription box fantasy titles, I think. And at number 1, another new entry. This one is for Dominique Ludwig's No Nonsense Nutrition, so all about healthy eating. Will any of those be on the pillar of popularity? Well, I'm going to do a little spoiler and say no, absolutely none of them are. We're going to start with number 5. It's here for the 4th week in a row. It's The Barbecue at number 9 by Jenny Godfrey. At number 4, a new entry for Emma Donohue's The Paris Express. And at number 3, Little Miss Marple's Bump in the Library. Really good to see that one doing so well, because when the previous 2 of the Mr. Men and Little Miss Mysteries, a crossover with Agatha Christie, when they were released last year, the Mr. Poirot one was selling more. But this time around, Little Miss Marple is selling more. At number 2, it's Blood Orange by Harriet Tice. 3rd week on the pillar for that one. And number 1, a brand new entry. It's been out for a while though. It's Jane Shemilt's All Her Secrets. That one is there because it's our latest book club pick. Will it still be there next week? Well, there is only one way to find out, and that is by listening to the Birds Books podcast. Now, Michael.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this, but you are the very lucky recipient of a book.
More than one.
Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall.
I'm aware.
It's very rare.
Yes.
I don't think anyone else in the country has any proofs because you've got them all.
Yes, they've sent 4. They were desperate for me to read Hell's Heart, so I have done.
And what's it like? Tell me more.
It's good. Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall. I will read you the blurb.
Before you do, Alexis Hall is the writer of...
what's it called?
My Boyfriend is something...
Boyfriend Material, Husband
Yes.
Material, yes. Various other ones. I cannot remember the titles
I always
of any others.
mix Alexis Hall up with Casey McQuiston, and not quite the same, but a little bit similar.
Yes, that sort of vibe. So this is quite different compared to that sort of stuff.
Read me the blurb.
Read the blurb. Earth is a ruin, and the scattered remnants of humanity scavenge what they can from the stars. Having long exhausted any conventional sources of energy, life in the solar system is now sustained by a volatile hallucinogenic substance harvested from the brains of vast cetacean-like leviathans that swim the atmospheric currents of Jupiter. Finding herself with no money and little to occupy her groundside, I takes a commission aboard the Hunter Bark Pequod as it sets out in pursuit of these leviathans. As it plunges ever deeper into turbulent space, she begins to lose herself in the delusions of her charismatic fanatical captain. The only thing that might keep I grounded is the bond she develops with Q, a woman from the wreck of old Earth, who remembers things others have lost. A grand adventure is about to begin, one that will be strange, extraordinary, and utterly unforgettable. This is a retelling of Moby Dick, but it's in space with lesbians.
Lesbians in space.
Lesbians in space. It is lesbians
Sold.
in space. Yes, but it's Moby Dick, which I haven't read, so I can't compare to how much it relates to Moby Dick. But famously, the opening line of Moby Dick is... Let's give you the tonal shift.
Have they, because it's about lesbians, called it Moby Vagina?
No. It's the Mobius Beast is what they're hiding in this case. But famously, the first line of Moby Dick is "Call me Ishmael."
Yes.
The opening line of this, to set the tone, is call me whatever the fuck you like.
Nice.
So the main character is only ever known as I.
I, as in capital I.
Capital I.
Not EYE.
No, but it's from first person perspective, so you rarely have that anyway. The person that they really bond with is just called Q, which I believe is this character in movie called Queequeg, I want to say. And I believe they're based on that. And the captain is Captain A, which is Ahab.
Gotcha.
But she never gives the names of these people because she said names are important and special. These people meant a lot to me. You don't get to know what their names were.
All right.
I know. So, yes. So basically, she starts off. She's been hopping about the solar system. Nobody really lives on Earth anymore because we've just ruined it.
Rubbish.
We've ruined it. So then people live on all the moons and planets in the solar system. And she, on a quest for adventure, basically joins the Pequod to go and hunt these leviathans that live in the atmosphere of Jupiter. Because everything in the universe, in the solar system, is powered by the stuff in their brains.
Are we just hopping around the solar system?
Yes.
So, are there aliens apart from these things?
No, there are aliens living in the skies
thingy. There's lots of different things there, but everyone else is human.
But we're
they
in
just,
the neighbourhood.
Yeah.
We're not heading off to a different
No,
solar system.
no.
There's only one star.
Most of it's set around Jupiter.
Lovely.
But a lot of the characters have come
I know
from...
the place.
Yeah,
It's easier.
exactly. A lot of the characters have come from... They're called like Ganymedians or Plutonians, or they're from different planets, and
Gotcha.
each has a different culture. Q is a Terran, so she's from Earth. Doesn't speak... It's quite interesting. She doesn't speak the language of everyone else, but I think her dialogue is all Latin.
Oh.
So if you can be bothered to translate it all, I'd imagine I'm missing a lot by not really translating her stuff.
Oh, so it gives you it in...
It's all in Latin. Yeah, you don't get told what it says. You have to go and translate it.
This sounds like hard work.
No, because it's not. Because she's not a woman of many words either. And you do. She does have a translator.
Is she just wandering around going, Carpe Diem?
No. She does have a translator.
Status quo.
Shut up. She does have a translator, so she can do. She can say little things in the whatever the language they're all speaking. We'll say English. I learns a few of her words in her language. So they can communicate a bit, but they don't really. Sometimes it's just based on mood. They kind of go, I know that what she said was bad.
What's book?
Libro.
Libro. Carpe Libro. Seize the book.
Yes. Might be Livro.
Libro.
I don't know. We'll double check that.
Let's do that.
Yes. So yes, and then it turns into a great big adventure thing. There's a lot of sex in it. There's a lot of mad adventures rolling around at the top of Jupiter, and it's also really funny.
Is it just lesbians? Are there any
Yes, but
homosexuals in? Are there any men in the book?
There are men in the book, yeah. But I think I will sleep with anyone really who comes along. I enjoy sex and is quite happy to have sex with anybody who comes along, I think.
Good for I.
Exactly. But because also when you're on these ships for 3 years at a time going around Jupiter trying to find these massive rare leviathans that you need to hunt, there's not much else to do on the ship than, fix it and have sex.
You want to get like a Game Boy or something, play Tetris.
Exactly, yes.
That'll keep you busy.
Yeah. But it's quite interesting. So, like the world building for it all as well. It's not clear where we are. We're at least 1,000 years beyond from now.
Okay, so it's kind of completely irrelevant what we know about.
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Because there's things like where religion has now become quite a big thing in it, and but it's a curious, twisted version of religion. It's basically based around money.
Yeah,
and it's considered
blasphemy. Oh, so it's very similar to now.
Yeah, it's considered blasphemy not to be interested in money, sort of thing. Like if people want it, and that everything is blasted.
So they're Ferengi.
I don't understand this reference.
That's a Star Trek.
I thought it was, but I mean everything is branded with adverts constantly. Everything, even to the point that if you have like a
you'd like the Ferengi.
Sure,
they're funny.
If you have like a plastic cup and you pour a drink into the cup will then on the outside display exactly the brand of drink that you've got in your cup.
Well, that's clever.
Yeah, it's because it's just more advertising.
Yeah.
And yes, and there's a sect of religious people called I can't remember what they're called, but they believe that the Great Devourer is coming, which is a great monster that will eat everything in the solar system, but they'll eat them last. And it's all very like, okay, yeah, exactly, quite extreme. So yes, and this is I telling her story years later and writing the book, and it's done like I'm writing this book. This is
so we know that I survives.
We know that I survives, and I is telling a story, but then I does reach a point where she starts going, oh, actually, I think this bit did happen before that bit. I can't remember, but it doesn't really matter. You just need to know the important bits.
This bit happened.
Yeah. But also, like, she's trying to describe what these leviathans look like in the atmosphere of Jupiter. But a lot of the people who, in theory, would be reading this book would never have seen these things. Oh. So she's trying to describe them, going, it doesn't matter what I say. You won't be able to understand how big these things are and what they really look like. But at the same time, because she's from centuries in the future and hasn't known Earth, she's never seen a tree, for example. So that but there are still sayings about the tree of life, or whatever. And she's like, I don't really know what a tree is. But there's one point there's a discussion about the phrase, it's easier for a rich man to get to heaven than a camel to get through the eye of a needle. And they just sort of discussing, what is a camel? What do you think that was? I don't know. And there's another later about the straw that broke the camel's back, and saying, well, it depends what a straw was and what a camel was, so what that means. We don't really know. And there's another one as well where she starts talking about bullshit, and she's going like, I don't really understand what bullshit is any different than normal shit, so I don't know what a bull is, because we've all moved on.
Yeah, but you work out
you
that
get
a bull was some kind of animal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she knows that much, but it's just why is that more specialised?
Because it sounds good.
Exactly.
Sheep shit's not very good.
No. Okay. So yes, it's mad. It's funny. It is just deranged, but really good fun.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. Yeah.
So one of the reasons why you got sent at least a copy
Yes.
was when I was talking to the publisher
Yeah.
about it. I said, "Oh, would you send a copy into the shop, a proof copy for Michael? I think
Yes.
he'd enjoy this. It's exactly the sort of nonsense that he would enjoy.
It is sort of nonsense I enjoy, which because I've
It
not.
sounds better than the Moon Keys thing.
Yeah, thank you. I've not read Moby Dick, and I've got no real intention to read Moby Dick. But now I feel I don't really have to,
Yes.
but I don't know how true to the story this is. Like, I know the beats of Moby Dick.
Does
and
it
I've
become
read-
obsessive?
Yeah, Ahab is obsessive in the beginning. Ahab, like, they're meant to be going to hunt this. Well, it's because it's based on sperm whales have in their head. It's called spermaceti.
Yes,
Which
I
is
knew
the
this.
stuff that then we used to use it for different
Yes.
things in Victorian times. and
I've
everything.
seen that in an episode of QI.
Yes, and they still call it sperm. I think we're going to go and hunt the sperm. I think, but every time she says it, just as a bracket, being like, "Are you still laughing at this?" So she knows it's stupid. And they kind of get you to a point where he says it so often, and she goes, "It's not funny anymore. Just go with it. It's okay." Yeah. So there's a lot of that. So Ahab is leading this thing to go and find these things, but also Ahab has A has their own goal to basically find this Mobius beast because it took her leg, and she wants to kill it. So Ahab, I keep doing it. A is insane.
Bit like Captain Hook as well. Really.
Yes, I think.
Is Captain Hook based on Moby Dick?
No, that's Peter Pan.
Yeah,
No,
but he was like, "I'm going to hunt that crocodile." Took
no,
my-
he wasn't trying to hunt the crocodile. He was trying to get away from the crocodile.
Oh yeah,
Crocodile was hunting him.
yeah, but he would have killed the crocodile if he could.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, that's Peter Pan, not Moby Dick, and not Hell's Heart. Hell's Heart, as the title references, the great big red spot on Jupiter as well. So that is where the big storm is.
Oh,
So that's the
okay,
reference
yeah.
to that.
Now, these big sort of creatures that are so big, are they like octopuses?
So there is an octopus on the cover, as you've just seen. They don't appear to be. They appear more like whale-like, but with lots of legs under them. But then there are other creatures in the atmosphere called kraken. And they've taken the names basically from Earth mythology and gone, well, there's these and
You
there's
can have that one.
There's a whole ecosystem up there, and there's a chapter dedicated to kind of going like, so these ones they prey on these ones, and then there's those ones and they hunt this and they do that. But you don't really need to know any of it. And she's kind of like going, well, you're never going to see these things. It doesn't matter.
Are they? Are they there now? Like, so obviously this book is set 1,000 years or so in the future. Are we in a world where they've discovered that these creatures are in the atmosphere of Jupiter, or have they been moved? So if in this world, 2026, we went up into the rocket and went to Jupiter, would we see one of these creatures?
I presume so. It doesn't appear to be that they've been like there's like I said, there's a whole ecosystem there, so it seems like they're native to Jupiter and they've always been there. And it turns out that whatever's in their head is amazing for powering the entire civilization. So we need this stuff.
Okay,
now.
cool. So they're there right
They're
now.
there because we haven't got any coal or oil or anything else to use anymore.
Well, no, we're using them, but they're already there right now. So we could go up and use them now.
Well, we could, but also this is a fictional novel.
Yes. Also, it sounds like it's just moving the problem.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yes,
Actually, we've run out of
rather
those.
than solving the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
Good. What's it called?
Hell's Heart.
And is it out this week?
It is out. Yes, in March,
Lovely.
12th of March.
Lovely. Brilliant. Where could somebody buy it from if they wanted to?
Birdsbooks.co.uk.
That is the correct answer.
That is everything for this week. Thank you so much for joining me, Keith.
A pleasure as always.
Oh, thank you. What books are you looking forward to that are coming out later this year? I know I'm asking you that, and I didn't warn you I was going to do that.
No, I mean there's some that I'm looking forward to coming out in paperback. I want to read the hang on, I've made a list in the back of my book.
Oh,
So,
lovely.
Okay, so what are we looking forward to coming out in paperback? I want to read The Long Shoe by Bob Mortimer, conscious that it's not connected to either the Satsuma complex or the Avocado Hotel. Because of Sally's recommendation, I'll get it comes out in paperback, The White Octopus Hotel.
Yep.
Looking forward to The Killing Time by Eddie Griffiths, because I just read The Frozen People again because of the good publicity you guys gave it on the Bert's Book podcast. Really enjoyed that. I thought the opening 2 or 3 chapters a little bit clunky in places, but then it got into its rhythm.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant story. And then having read the opening few pages of The Killing Time, which is at the back of The Frozen People, really looking forward to reading that. Hopefully, over the next few weeks, I'll actually finish the Count of Monte Cristo. Um, I could have done with bigger print, but then it would have been even more pages. Yeah. So, and then there's some other ones, and I think it might have been this one which we touched on about cancel culture and what people are now saying. But also want to get a copy of A Ladder to the Sky, John Boyne, that you mentioned.
Yeah,
But there's always more books than there's time to read.
isn't
So,
it just?
and I think one of the best ways of finding out what's coming out and what to recommend is by listening to the Bert's Book podcast.
Well, quite right too. Um, I'm going to add one more to your list because I think if you like the Frozen People,
Yeah,
there's one called The Drowning Place by Sarah Hilary, which comes
right.
out in April. It's hardback in April. Paperback will be probably either November this year or early next year.
So, The
Uh,
Drowning Place by
Sarah Hilary.
Sarah Hilary. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think if you liked Ellie Griffiths, you'll like that. There will be it will be in the podcast in probably next month. So
Okay.
keep an ear out for that one. Um, we have talked about we've talked about How Not to Be a Boy. We've talked about Hell's Heart as well with Michael. We have listened to the charts
We have.
and we were thoroughly surprised by everything that was on there.
Totally surprised. Totally. So, will it be affected by World Book Day, or is that a bit too soon for that?
Probably not. So we don't count the World Book Day books because we sort of just they are in effect given away.
Yeah.
Um, but the way that kids work is that they are very broad in their tastes. So if we were to ever do a countdown of the kids' bestsellers, it would all be Bunny versus Monkey, Dogman, because those are the ones that sell in bulk. But there's a long tail in kids, and that
Okay.
once you find a series you like, you'll be the only person who's buying that in the bookshop for
Yeah.
6 months. So it makes buying kids' books for the shop quite difficult because we never know
Mm,
quite what people are going to want. But yeah, I don't know that we'll see a kids' book on the pillar. Maybe if anything, it'll be a bunny versus monkey. But
okay.
um, we need people to email in at
Indeed.
bertbooks.co.uk, or as I've said before, you can write us. You can send us
Mhm.
a letter, 54 Godwin Court, Swindon, SN14BB. Not many people are doing that, but I'm going to keep pushing it.
Yeah. Come on, everybody. Send a letter.
It's actually we started talking about that because of the correspondent, which
Correspondent. Yeah.
Sally read and loved. And actually, that's a good moment to mention that the Women's Prize for this year long list has been released, and that came out. I think it came out on Wednesday last week, and it features the correspondent on
I
there.
saw that the correspondence on that. That's another book I need to add to my
Add to
list
your
that I
list,
want to
yeah.
get.
There's a few others on there. I haven't read any of them though. I did start reading The Benefactors, but I wasn't quite in the right mood for it. So I want to give that one another go. But I think I'll be up. This has certainly pushed the correspondent further up my
Yeah.
TBR
Good.
pile. But all of the Women's Prize books are on the website if anyone wants to go and take a look at bertsbooks.co.uk. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube as well. So we started doing that. I've,
Hmm.
as we talk, Keith, I've just recorded the the February edition of my book roundup. I haven't edited it yet, so hopefully that'll be an easy one to do, and it'll be live very soon. But that really now is everything. So don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. That way you will never miss an episode. Say goodbye, Keith.
Goodbye, Keith.